Welcome to Popplers Music Podcast. I'm your host, Josh Gratton, and every episode we sit down with the voices shaping the future of music education, from classroom educators and university professors to composers and professional musicians who inspires the next generation of musicians. I hope you enjoy today's conversation.
Today, we're pleased to introduce William Owens. William Owens is a highly sought-after composer, clinician, and conductor, originally from Gary, Indiana. With more than 500 works for band and orchestra, his music is widely performed and recognized as a staple in the wind band repertoire. A graduate of VanderCook College of Music, he's received numerous honors, including awards from the Texas Bandmasters Association and his alma mater. After a 30-year career as a band director in Texas, he now resides in Fort Worth with his wife, Georgia. Please join us in welcoming William Owens.
William, thank you for joining us on the Popplers Podcast today. Thank you so much for coming on and being a guest. It's our honor to get to chat with you, and thank you for taking the time to be here with us today.
The honor is all mine, Josh. Thank you for being here. This is very exciting.
I've been looking forward to catching up. For those that are listening, this isn't our first time getting to chat. Thankfully, we've gotten to work together on a couple different events. One being the down in South Dakota for Bandmasters Directors Institute, and then up at Poplar's New Music Reading Clinic. So thanks again, and looking forward to catching up.
Oh, it's going to be a good time. And that reading clinic was a blast. So thanks again for having me for that. It was wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, the spirit of the Popplers Podcast is everything musical journey. And you have an amazing career in music education, composition, all things music. So would you please take me back to the very beginning and tell me where did you get started in music? What was your entry point? What age? Kind of tell me how you got started in music.
Okay, my entry point was my 7th grade year. Now, the program I participated in, the Northwest Indiana Catholic Youth Organization Band, started students in 4th grade. I didn't start until 7th. It took me 3 years to convince my mom to let me participate, who didn't believe I'd stick with it very long, so she just wouldn't make the investment. But my 7th grade year, I finally got her to let me do it and started playing the I'm a woodwind player now, but started playing the trumpet in 7th grade, played in 2 years. When I got to high school, I attended a small Catholic school in Northwest Indiana, and the band program at the time needed a tuba player. So my band director asked me if I would play tuba, and I told her I would do that. So I learned the tuba. My major instrument today is saxophone, which I did not begin playing until my sophomore year, and that's what I majored in from that point on. So went through high school, attended VanderCook College.
Wow.
Yeah, sure. Attended VanderCook College of Music in Chicago, Illinois. My high school band director attended VanderCook, and basically she groomed me the entire time. And the funny thing is, she never asked me, would I be interested in going to VanderCook or would I be interested in being a band director? She would say things to me like, now, when you get to VanderCook, you got to do this. And when you get to VanderCook, you got to do this. She goes, no, don't do that. You're never going to make a good band director doing that stuff. So you do this. So, there was no, are you interested? There was no, she just moved right in and I went with it. So attended VanderCook,
That's awesome.
4 marvelous years from 81 to 85, and started my career teaching down in the Rio Grande Valley, down in South Texas, in a small town called Los Fresnos. So that was my first 2 years, and I spent 12 years down there in the valley. I taught in Brownsville, I taught in Donna, and I taught in a town called Mission. Okay, from there I moved. You bet. From there I moved to Lubbock, Texas, which is where I met my lovely wife and my best buddy in the whole world, Georgia. So we hooked up in Lubbock, Texas in the late 90s, and we moved to the Metroplex in 2001, which is where we are now, and we have been here. What is this now? So this is our 26th season. Now, all through that time, I was teaching, I was band director, didn't start doing any composing until, oh goodness, I'm going to say, I wrote my first composition when I was 33 years old, Josh. I got going late. I had no aspirations to be a composer. I get that question all the time. And back when I was teaching in the 80s, I taught middle school band, and back in those days, for you older folks that are listening to this podcast, you remember back in the early 80s, there just wasn't a whole lot of viable literature for the little ones. I was teaching a 7th grade band with about 30 students who had only played 1 year, and there just wasn't much literature. So I wrote a couple of very simple pieces, basically out of necessity. I just needed stuff for my 33 little kids to play, and that's pretty much how I got going.
Yeah,
with the composition.
That's a wonderful way to get started with your own band.
Well, it was an interesting way, because here again, I was just going to, just have a happy career being band director until however long it was, and, and that was all going great.
Yep.
But then it took this crazy turn that I didn't see coming, for which, hey, I'm grateful for. Looking back, no regrets.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Now, can I take us back to your kind of elementary and high school education a little bit? Can you touch on the educators that you had during that time when you were growing up?
Boy, can I touch on them? You did. I was very blessed.
Please do.
I had phenomenal teachers. My very first band director was actually a vocal person, Mr. Jim Green. He was from New York City, and he was living in Indiana at the time, and he took over our program. And, I had him for 2 years, and he was just such a gentleman. He was such a nice person, very nurturing. He took very good care of me personally, which I appreciate to this day. And here again, I had him for 2 years, and I moved to high school, and where I met my high school director, Ann Betts. She and I are buddies today, and I'll tell you what, I love that lady with all my heart. She, again... she took a personal interest in me, she nurtured me, she helped me out, she kicked my butt when I got out of line, just all the good stuff that a responsible, caring teacher would do. And,
Yep, absolutely.
And
those were your main two teachers?
Those were my main two, yes. And there were others, but Jim and Ann, those are the one I hold in such high esteem and that I hold in high regard.
Yeah. It sounds like you had great educators and they did everything that you needed, but what was the things that they would do, that really you kind of touched on it, that she really pushed you into college and didn't even ask. That's pretty unique and funny,
right?
But how else did she prep you? What were some of the details of getting you ready for college?
Right, and I say push, but it wasn't an aggressive push. What she did was, she led by example. She was a professional woodwind player. And I would go watch her play. I would go watch her play in the concerts, and she gave the kids in our band program all sorts of opportunities to come watch musicals and to come see concerts.
Wonderful.
So we were in the Chicago area pretty often, several times a year. And I saw my first professional Broadway musical. She took us to see A Chorus Line. So she did things like that for us. And and those sort of things stick.
Yeah.
They inspire you. They excite you. And you carry those memories forever, and they're wonderful memories.
Yeah.
And
were you practicing a lot as a kid?
Oh yes, sure did. Yep, played a whole lot. State solo and ensemble. Did the all-state band there my senior year. Just did all that good stuff. That any serious young player would want to do. So those were good times. Those were good years.
And then how about some of the camaraderie with your peers? Did you have good musicians around you? Were you kind of the leader in the group? How was your peer situation with music education?
Well, I was a leader because it was a small group, and I just worked very hard. I was just very driven, and just rose to that position. And I didn't look at myself as a leader, but I guess everybody else did. And didn't do, I wasn't the drum major or anything like that. Really wasn't interested in that sort of thing. Just wanted to play my instrument. Did that and met many, many friends in high school when I did the summer band camps, for example. There were several of those. There was a wonderful camp in northwest Indiana that was very prominent for years, the Smith Walbridge camp. It was a drum major camp. It was mainly marching, but they had a concert band component. And that was the one I attended every year. And I met people there who are, to this day, some of my very dearest friends.
That's wonderful. So you went to band camp every summer, or most summers,
I did
or
for
a couple times?
For 2 summers, yes. And those
Summers? Yeah,
and those
nice.
are just, for me, those were just 2 very meaningful, significant summers because they really helped chart my course.
Yeah, we have up in this area, up in North Dakota, we have IMC, International Music Camp, and similar experience. Yeah, just profound. You remember it your entire life.
You do.
Great educational experience. You get around other like-minded and interested kiddos in music, and yeah, it's fantastic.
That's right. The term is, I believe, iron sharpening iron, and that's definitely what it was.
Yeah, absolutely. So now, how about when you got into college? You must have had some good educators there as well.
Absolutely. You know what? Through my entire career, I consider myself very, very lucky because I've not had an educator or been around a person that I wish I had not been around. All of my educators have just, the ones that I remember, the ones that I hold close to heart, were just all so amazing. I'll start with, when I was at VanderCook, my college band director, Victor Zajac, who was just amazing. And I had heard of him. I knew about him before I arrived at VanderCook. So, so when I arrived and he was there, he'd be walking around and I'd watch him. And I was like, all right, man, there's my hero, Mr. Zajac, right there. And, and just went through the college program. And, the better we got to know each other, I was happy to say that by the time I graduated, we had a really very strong relationship, which I was really happy to have and which I was very proud of because he was just great musician, great educator, but just moreover, a very, very fine human being.
Absolutely. Yeah, and having that kind of relationship with your professor in college, you learn so much more than just music, right?
Oh, you do.
Really teaching you how to be a professional, I'm sure.
Right.
Oh, I was going to ask, how about ensembles? What kind of groups were you in?
Oh, yeah.
What were the playing?
Oh yeah, did it all. I was in the chief performing organization for wind instruments at VanderCook was and it still is today, was the symphonic band. And I played in all the ensembles. I did the jazz band. We had a wind ensemble, which is, how that is. That's the offshoot of the symphonic band, which is all the best players. So I was in that. Okay, we had a pretty strong saxophone quartet going for a few years, which I participated in. And, the wind ensemble, that was fun. That group was the one that would go out to all the local high schools and do the recruiting. Our symphonic band was the one that played at the Midwest Clinic in Chicago every year and did, a few of the other out-of-state recruiting things. It was an interesting setup at VanderCook. We had a wind ensemble, which was about 35 of, just all the best players out of the symphonic band. But interestingly enough, in most institutions, your wind ensemble is the chief performing organization. Now, the wind ensemble was simply extra, but at VanderCook, the symphonic band was the chief performing organization. And so that was just the one that we worked hard at and the one that we just really, locked in and, worked hard with.
Then how about any other educators? Did you have anybody else? Was there like a handful there or kind of you touched on
handful there.
Your dearest.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm just going to throw out some names. I threw out Dr. Zajac. He was my college director, and I'll just throw out some few names. Just people who I worked under, that I worked with, that were just great. Dr. Roseanne Rosenthal, who later went on to become the president of the college for many years. Mr. Jay Fry, who was our dean of students, and he taught music education courses. The then president of VanderCook, Mr. James Gilworth, who was just a huge help to me personally, and he helped me get my first job. And that, I'll tell you what, that's an interesting story in itself. But he is responsible for me going to Texas. And looking back on it, I'm very grateful for that because I had several misgivings. But over 4 years, I had come to trust him because, again, he was a nurturing fellow and he gave me great advice.
Yep.
He gave me fatherly advice. So I thought, well, he's right about everything else. I'll give it a go. And 40 years later, my gratitude just increases. I can't be grateful enough.
That's wonderful. Well, I would like to hear the story. How did you get your first job?
All right. Well, here we go. All righty. So, Mr. Gilworth, the then president of VanderCook, he calls me in And he goes, "Hey, Willie, there is this opportunity down in Texas, a little town called Los Fresnos." Now, the gentleman who was recruiting was a VanderCook graduate, Mr. Armando Madrano, who was the director of bands down there at the time. And so, when you're in a position, where you're music supervising or something like that and you need people, where's the first place you go? You go to your alma mater. So anyway, what happened was I had already taken a position right there in Chicago. I was going to be the band director at Rickover Junior High School in a town just outside of Chicago called Sauk Village. And I was really excited about that. I was just going to get going with that. And I'd signed up, got the job. I was really happy. And I was the band director at Rickover Junior High School, officially signed up for 2 weeks. Didn't see a single kid, but I was the band director. So in the meantime, this Texas opportunity comes along, and Mr. Gilworth goes, "Look, you need to just go down there, take the interview, and talk to them. Let's not even talk about whether or not you take the job, which I hope you do, but just go down there and talk to those folks and look around." And I thought, well, you know what? I'll just go ahead and do that. I had never been to that part of the country before. And I just thought, well, you know what? I'll just go down there and have myself a little mini vacation. It'll be a good time. I'll go down there. I'll see something I had never seen. That'll be a great experience. I'll talk to the people. They said they would take me over across into Mexico. Hey, so I'll get a little bit of international experience. Say thanks but no thanks and come on home. That was my plan. I was just going to go down there and have a little vacation and come on back home. Went down there, doggone it, fell in love with the place. Talked to some of these guys and gals down there. And, they showed us around. I got to experience some of the summer band programs, all of which were phenomenal. And these programs students were performing at a level like nothing I had ever experienced before. So I just went down there and saw and heard all kinds of things that I never knew I would. And so we sit down and we talk business, and they go, "Well, Willie, here's the contract. If you don't mind me asking, how much will they be paying you to take this job in Illinois?" Now, this is Chicago. Now, this was $1985. And I thought, well, you know what? I'm going to be making $16,500 a year. Thank you very much. And I said that rather proudly. Yeah. And they go, "Well, that's very nice. Yeah. Now, for this job here, we are prepared to offer you $31,500. And I kept my cool, but inside I'm just going. So they go, "Well, so we'll give you to think about, and you can get back to us and all that." So, again, it was an interesting time. Went down there and learned all that stuff, saw those things. That was the first time I'd ever flown. So that was a new experience, 22 years old. So I just came back, and, man, came back. Came back and thought about it for a minute and thought, man, doggone, I'm going to do all this. So I'm going to do it. I'm in. So I had to call the superintendent back at my Illinois job, and, to say the least, he wasn't at all happy about that. But, I got released and started my time in Texas.
Wow. Oh, that is the story. That is so cool.
It's a cool story.
I mean, it was from like a mental push, and like you said, you fell in love with the place, and kind of a bonus that they offered you a better contract too.
It was. And now down there, you talked about mentors and all that. Now I fell into an interesting situation where I wasn't just left on my own with a classroom full of kids. Down in that environment, the band directors, it was a network, and it was a family, if I may, because I would have all these older directors who would encourage me to make recordings of my rehearsals and bring them in and let them listen. And I would get advice as far as what to do and how to improve and help the kids do better. Now, I did this on a weekly basis. There was one gentleman who was a really dear friend of mine, the late, great Alan Clark. I would be in his living room every Friday night, and he would listen to that tape cassette. Okay, no, boy, is that nostalgic? A tape cassette. And we would sit there, and I'll tell you what, he had just amazing stereo equipment, and we would pop that thing in, and we'd listen, and there'd be about 4 or 5 other veteran band directors sitting around, and I would just be sitting there taking these notes. I got these 4 or 5 people every Friday, just all hollering at me about what I did wrong and what I need to do to get better. And
that's how we get better.
Yeah, well, that's how I got my start. And and my heart goes out to these folks who get jobs and they're alone and they don't get the opportunity to get around people who had done the who have been in the profession, who has done the job successfully. So to any young folks who may be listening to this podcast, I would just encourage you to get out and find some older people or some more seasoned people who had been out in the field and who are doing, what you want to do, and who have gone where you want to go. So, it's just really to get out there. Important to get out there and find that second ear and find some mentorship.
Absolutely. I've found mentors to be absolutely crucial in my life, and the more educators I talk to and meet and have the opportunity to get to know, that can make or break it.
Oh, well, you know what? I'll just say this. You can't do it alone. I'll speak for myself. I'm really glad those people came into my life. Had I gone out there and tried it by myself, I would not have made it. Looking back, I'm just really, really happy those people, came into my life and that I crossed paths with these folks. And there's a ton of them. I could name many, many of them. I could name people who were with me like for many years, and there are a lot of the one-hitter quitters. Just a guy who comes along and gives you a little bit of a tad of good advice, and then you never see him again. There were a bunch of those. But so many great people,
And then how long did you teach in your first job?
I taught my first job. Let me see. That was I was down there in the valley. I was down in that job. I stayed there 12 years total. Okay. And I was in several places over 12 years, but I was in that general area, for 12 years. And at that point, I moved. That's when I moved. Oh goodness, when was that? 1997 was when I moved to West Texas, to the Panhandle. And I taught in the Lubbock area for 4 years. And as I mentioned earlier, that's where I met my wife, Georgia. And we got married there in Lubbock, and I was there for 4 years, and we moved to Dallas-Fort Worth in 2001. Which is where we are today. So this is our 25th season here in DFW.
Yep. Yeah, wonderful. Now, the transition from teaching to composing, can we talk about that? You said it was out of necessity, and you hadn't necessarily aimed to become a composer and a writer, and which is almost how many pieces you've published and how amazing your work is. That's quite interesting. I've talked to other composers where that's they wanted to do that and they maybe did it at a younger age. Mm-hmm. But tell me a little bit more in detail about that transition period. And like you said, you wrote out of necessity, but what was that like? What was that period of your life like?
Sure. Well, at that point, I had no desire or aspirations at all to be a composer. None. I was just very happy being a band director. Now, I had done some arranging.
Yeah.
Okay. Now at the time, when I was there in the Valley, I had several friends of mine who were running high school bands, and they wanted help with the marching band arrangements. Back then, marching bands played all the published music, and that was a period where the marching bands were transitioning from published music to having music, written especially for their ensemble. And I helped, just rearrange some things. I helped tweak some things. And so I was doing a lot of that, and that was fine. But then getting back to my middle school experience, again, there just weren't very many pieces that completely accommodated, that level. Okay, that would accommodate a bunch of one-year players. You had this and you had that. But what we were doing by and large, we had to take pieces that were a little bit tougher and just struggling with those and doing your very best. So I just sat down and just thought, well, if I were going to do this for my group, I would try this, and I would try that, and I would try the next. So, I just did a lot of practice writing and thought I'd been doing a bunch of arranging. So my mentality was, if you've done all this arrangement, well, composition, can't be too much farther of a leap. I just came up with very simple melodies, and then, And then that's where I kicked back to my theory experience back in college, where I just, your melody, your bass line, and then you put all your harmonies in between that idea. So here again, I just did that. All I wanted to do was take care of my kids. So, I came up with a little bitty march I call Leaders of Tomorrow, because I would always tell my kids, you're the leaders of tomorrow. So, hey, here's your march. I wrote a tune for you. Look at that title. That's you guys right there. So we played that little march, and it was cool, and it worked. Yeah, and it worked.
They just loved it.
Well, I hope they did. And so I was doing little tunes like that.
Their own piece, Yeah.
Now, we talked about mentors. I had another wonderful mentor, Mr. Eddie Galvan, who had heard a couple of those little compositions that I had written, and he encouraged me to send those to publishers. And I wasn't all that excited about doing that. So, but he actually stayed on me for about a year. He would actually call me up. He'd go, "Hey, Willie, baby." That's what he told me. "Hey, Willie, baby. Did you send in those pieces yet?" I go, "No, Eddie, you haven't sent them yet." He goes, "You haven't sent them yet? Well, what are you waiting on, you dum-dum?" He called me a dum-dum. "What are you waiting on, you dum-dum? Send those pieces in. These are good pieces. You got to share them with people." So, I sent them in. I said, all right. So I said, "Yeah, okay, Eddie, I'll send them." So he called me way back later. "You send those pieces?" I go, "Yeah, Eddie, I sent them. You happy?" So I sent them to I sent them to the TRN music publisher in New Mexico. And 2 weeks later, I get a letter. Now, again, for you younger folks, these were the pre-email days, okay? So 2 weeks later, I get a letter. "We've received your pieces, we've reviewed them, and we would like to publish them." So I thought, okay, wow, that's neat. So they sent me a contract, did the paperwork and all the stuff you do, get all the legal stuff out of the way. So we did that, and a couple months later, I received my 2 sample prints in the mail. The published version, of those pieces, the production copies. And that was exciting. I thought, wow, look at that. That's pretty cool. So I thought, well, there's my brief brush with composition. So I put those on the shelf, and okay, let me get on back to my band directing deal. And I get another letter during the summer from TRN music publisher. "Hey, can you write us 4 more pieces?" And my response was, well, it was all I could do to get you the 1 or 2. So I sat down that summer, started that summer, and I cannot tell you, Josh, how I did it, but somehow or another, I found it within me to come up with another 4. And that's how it got going. And so you practice, you get good at it, and then, it's just like practicing your instrument. You just stay at it, and, you just work at it until you get better. I never took any formal composition classes or had any formal training. People ask me, where did you study composition? And I jokingly tell them I studied at UTE. And they go, "What is that, University of Texas Eastern?" I go, "No, man, University of Trial and Error. This worked, that didn't."
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, kind of the school of hard knocks.
Right, that was pretty much it. So, I just did a whole lot wrong until eventually 1 or 2 things were right. So that was my experience.
Yeah, and you had been, in music for a long time, and you knew, what you needed as an educator. So you had all of this background. It's remarkable that you wrote a piece, sent it in, it got published immediately, and then there was requests for more. I mean, that really is a cool start.
Well, it was, and and nobody was more surprised than that at me. So again, I consider myself very fortunate that way. And that was a 13-year relationship I had with TRN, and the gentlemen that were running the company at the time, Jim Wiley and Daryl Anderson, they were just wonderful to work with. They were just really, really great.
Yeah, wonderful. So, how long did you continue directing while you were composing? How long did you do both until you maybe focused on composing? What did that transition look like? And
okay, well,
how long did that go?
For about 15 years, I kind of burned the candle at both ends. And,
15
no,
years.
I would teach during the day like you would do, and did all my band directing during the day. And at that time, 90% of my pieces, 90% of my writing got done during the wee hours. Okay, I would work as a band director. I would come home, maybe, eat a quick dinner, and I would sleep for a couple hours and get up at 1 in the morning and work till about 4:30 or 5 o'clock. And then go to work the next day. And that was my life for about 15 years.
That's absolutely burning the candle.
I did.
Oh my goodness.
So I taught in the day and I wrote in the evening.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, I personally can't run on that little amount of sleep. Oh my gosh.
Well, and I'd sneak it in during the day, and I slept. Yeah, I slept at my desk when I could during the day for a little bit. But you know.
Yep. Get a little nap.
But but it was a neat time. Because with you building Popplers, I'm sure there are times where you just look back and say, and it's a phenomenal company. So hats off to you, my friend. It's a very, very impressive operation.
Thank you.
And I'm sure there are times where you just look back at what you've done and you're like, oh my golly, how did I do that? But you were just no. You were just going and you were working, and you were running on pure excitement and adrenaline. What's the old saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, what's the old saying? The dog in the hunt doesn't know he's got fleas. But I guess that was it.
Yep, absolutely. Oh, that is so cool. So then, at the end of that 15-year period where you were doing both, what was it like to, get to have all of your time for composing? Did you notice a change in your work? It sounds like you were just kind of getting after it and learning and getting pieces out. And it's what was the transition like when you finally went full time for composing?
Okay, so I retired back in 2015, and I still taught part time thereafter for a few years. So, but obviously, there was more time and there was more flexibility, which today I take advantage of. So right after this podcast, I'm going to get back to work for that piece that we were talking about earlier. So, it's just neat to have the flexibility. And most days I'll sit down for about, say, 4 or 5 hours, and just work at it and just come up with the ideas. And I do a lot of practice writing, just to where, I just try different things just to sharpen my skills and to just kind of hone my technique. It's important to do that even after you've been doing it for a while. Any professional musician will tell you, you don't stop practicing. You're just never ever satisfied. You just go when you go.
I really like the way that you refer to composing as a craft and as a skill and something that you practice and you hone. What do you think about the art and the craft of composing as it relates to working on your craft, like you just said? So you're practicing, you're writing a little bit every day, but then what does that look like for a composer?
Well, if you're serious, what I did, one of the biggest things that helped me was I just listened a lot. All my favorite composers, be it vocal or band or orchestral, I just did lots of listening and I'll say it just straight up. I stole lots of ideas. I just took a while, just to kind of find myself and to find your identity. And that's totally okay. You practice and you get ideas. Plenty of composers have said there are no original ideas, which there aren't, And what you do is you take the techniques, that have been developed and and you take the things that have come before you and you work with those and you practice it and you develop your own style. And then before long, your writing, it can become as individual as a fingerprint. The neatest thing is when you listen to a given piece of music by a composer and you can tell it was written by them. Here again,
absolutely.
And again, that doesn't come quickly. The wheels of progress, they turn very slowly, and that just comes from just lots of time practicing and staying devoted and staying dedicated to the craft. A gentleman that I always enjoy talking to is James Barnes, very prominent, prolific composer. And, he would tell me that Oklahoma accent of his. He'd go, look, man, just keep writing. Just keep writing. If you don't like what you wrote, throw it away and write something else. And get ideas. don't be afraid to use other ideas. He goes, man, I'm the biggest thief out there. He goes, so you just do it and you practice. And
I've story saying, like you said about an adage, it's something about modeling the masters and something about great artists steal, but it's not about stealing. Right. It's about learning ideas and kind of building your body of knowledge, and then that all becomes part of what forms your voice, like you said.
Well, and that's it. Like, again, I like to compare it with practicing instruments because when you play, I mean, listen, when we practiced our instrument, we all had artists that we wanted to sound like. Okay, we all had a person or a sound in mind. I would like to emulate that person. Mm-hmm. And so my dream was to sound like Eugene Rousseau, from Indiana, because I didn't play, and he was just absolutely phenomenal. Okay, Vinny Abato was another great player from New York. So, and composition was the same way. You embrace the sounds and the techniques of composers that you endear and that you think the most of, and you copy that style. And here again, I jokingly said stealing ideas and copying ideas, but that's what we do. Now, stealing's one thing, plagiarism is another. Okay, that you don't do. But you borrow those ideas and you make them yours.
It's well said. And another thing that's really unique about your musical journey as it relates to how prolific your composition works and your publications are is really how long you continue to teach and compose at the same time. You must have loved teaching. You wouldn't have kept doing it like that if you didn't. You must have really enjoyed that.
I did. I cherish the great moments. I learned from the not so great ones. I hope I learned from the not so great ones. And and life is a journey. You just hang in there and you stay tough, and you stay. And association is everything. And you get with people who keep you motivated, and who encourage you. My wife is my biggest cheerleader and my biggest fan, and I am grateful to her. And looking back on it, we've been married 27 years now, and you can relate to this. We've now been married 27 years, and looking back on it, I don't know how I would ever have gotten through life without her.
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome.
And I'm very grateful that, she, came into my life and just helped me along, because when we first met, I'm telling you, man, I won't go into detail about this, but I had issues back then.
Sure. I know this, but others might not. Is she a musician?
She is not.
She's
not at all. No.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. Wonderful to have a supporting spouse, and you've mentioned her many times, and she sounds lovely, and I hope I get to meet her one day. Does she go to Midwest with you?
No, she does not travel with me often. She works during the day. She works from home. She's a real, she was a real estate agent for years and became an insurance agent in recent years. And I brought her to Midwest with me back in, I forget the year. It was the last year. It was at the Hilton. And, I brought her that, and she looked around. And again, she's not a musical person, and, she hadn't been in any of these environments. And I took her there, and she looked around, and the first thing she said was, wow, this is a lot bigger than I imagined it'd be.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Midwest is wild. Yeah, that's it's quite an event to take in, and everybody in the industry that's has anything to do with bands should definitely
absolutely
check them out. William, I'd like to talk about your pieces if we can. Can I ask you questions about your pieces?
Absolutely.
And, there's nothing really that I have pre-thought of. I just things that come off the kind of the top of my head, if you will. If you had to pick one piece out of all of the pieces you've written that kind of stands above, that you enjoy or hold dear to yourself for different reasons, what piece would that be?
Oh, wow, that's a tough question.
Hard to pick one. You have so many.
Oh, well, I'll tell you what, there's a couple, all right.
And one is always hard.
Okay.
If you want to get it down.
Well, I'll tell you what, I don't know if this is the one, but this is one I do. I finished a grade 5 piece recently that I titled Los Valles Calientes, the sultry dances in the English translation. And this, this piece was inspired again back from my days in the Rio Grande Valley, and this piece was written to honor the memory of Mr. Jim Melhart, who was the owner of Melhart Music Center down there in the Rio Grande Valley, and he had passed away, and I was asked by the directors of the Rio Grande Valley to write a piece, to honor Mr. Melhart. And the request for that piece was, as pieces, that honor the dearly departed are always slow and somber. The request was to write something lively, something happy, and which we did. And it's actually, it's actually got everything. It's very, it's a Hispanic flavored piece, and it starts very lively. It's got a very lush, slow section, and then it's got like a little cumbia section as you go into the end. So, and again, you said which one is one of my favorites. I can't say that any particular one is my favorite, but that does stand out as one, because here again, I was asked to do it by, wonderful band director friends of mine down there in the Rio Grande Valley, which is where I got my start. So writing that piece to honor Jim, was a highlight, and for me, it was a true honor. Just another quick one was one I did years ago, a couple of decades ago, for my wife. Of course, and this is, of course, I'm biased about. I call it May Song, M-A-E song, and I
want it to be biased. That's
yeah, wonderful. You bet. And people tell me all the time, did they misspell May? No, M-A-E song. That's it. Well, how do they spell that way? Well, May is my wife's middle name, M-A-E. So May Song. One word. And so, of course, that one holds a soft spot. That one's got a special place. When I do guest conducting, and they love to do the Q&As, where they'll question it, and those are always fun. Oh God, Josh. Oh, at first, oh man, I hated him. But but as the years went on, I've really come to enjoy them. Anymore, I'm like, yeah, buddy, bring my Q&A. It's in a lot of ways, it's my favorite. Yep. That's my favorite session now. But anyway, the kids will, and I get that question all the time. What's your favorite piece that you've ever written? And what I like to tell the kids is, I'll tell them, now I don't mean this answer to be evasive or elusive, but my favorite piece is whichever one I am currently working on. Okay, so right now...
That's a great answer.
So right now, and I'll tell you why. Right now, my favorite piece is something called Joyful Noises. Okay, I'm writing it for the East Cardinal Middle School Band in Melissa, Texas, and it's based on the Ode to Joy, the theme from the final movement of Beethoven's Ninth Symphony. And it is my favorite because right now I'm getting close to being finished with it. Like I told you, as soon as you and I are done talking, I'm going to get back to work on it. And but at this point, I've got a general idea of where it's going to go, but I can't tell you 100% for sure. So, just kind of being on the journey and just kind of, and there's just that element of mystery that just keeps me excited and keeps me stimulated. So at the moment, Joyful Noises is my favorite piece. So that's what I like to tell people. I can't wait to hear it. Well, I'll tell you what, I'll send you a quick recording when I'm all done with it. I suspect I'll be done with it here in the next day and a half.
Okay. Yeah. I'll look forward to it. I like the title. And also, talking about prolific composers. I mean, working with a theme that Beethoven wrote, that's got to be fun.
Oh, it's fun, I mean, it's just neat to go back and here again, there's just so much wonderful music out there, and all these marvelous legendary composers, Beethoven, Ralph Vaughan Williams of the 20th century is one of my very favorites. I tend to favor the 20th century composers. Prokofiev, Rachmaninoff, Debussy. Those are some of my Ravel. Those are some of my very favorites. And I love that music as well. Yeah, I could just listen to that all day. I absolutely love it.
How about one of your favorite pieces for like a middle school band? How about education wise, because you've written so much that, like you had talked about, kind of the beginning was almost filling that need in a way. Are there a few pieces that if there's a middle school band director that's looking for education pieces that pops into your mind that, hey, these are perfect? And no,
that's an easy one. That's an easy one because here again, we're helping the kids, so I can dig down there and find some things. You bet. Now at the very easy level, at the 0.5, I've got one that I really like that I call tambura, and it's very easy, 6 notes, concert B flat to concert G. And it's a bit of a programmatic work from, and it was from the, the volcano in Indonesia, and the, and so it's a work about a volcano, and there's, and there's effects, there's foot stomping, hand clapping, and the kids get into that. And, and while the effects are cool and while kids dig all that, hopefully there's some very viable and some very engaging music that helps them learn and helps them develop as musicians. I've got a grade 1 that I'm excited about that, I just finished. It was commissioned by a group in Illinois, and I call it Greater Blue. And, it was inspired by the Greater Blue Mountains out in Australia. And, it's not so much of a programmatic work, but it's very dramatic. Okay, yeah, I'll say it's dramatic. It's very harmonically lush. It's got good melodies. And I feel like that would be a good one for the developing bands. It's a solid grade 1. And it's one of the, I think it's one of the ones that I've written that I think I can say, that I'm probably the most proud of at this point. Now, a couple of mine that I use when I'm out working with the honor bands and the region bands, I've got one. Here's another programmatic one. I've got one I call Carpathia, which was about the rescue ship who rescued the victims from the Titanic. Starts slowly and dramatically, and then it becomes very quick and very energetic. Okay, and it's got a very urgent feel to it. And, so that's one. And another one that I like for that level, I've got one that I call the Blue Orchid, which is a Spanish tango grade 2 sort of work. And I'm working to get that one to where it'll be more readily available. It hasn't been in recent years, but, we're working to bring that back into the mainstream. So the Blue Orchid was one of mine that I like. So those are a few that I like working with the younger folks. There are others, but those would be the premier ones.
How about a high school band? Maybe a grade or 2 up from what we were just talking about.
Okay, yeah, sure. Okay, so I've got a grade 3 that I call All Things So Wondrous, which is based on in fact we sight read it at the Popplers clinic, that past summer.
Yep, beautiful piece.
And All Things So Wondrous, and it's based on a Lutheran hymn. And, it's an overture style. It starts out very briefly, and then it goes into a wonderful chorale. And then it just kind of takes kind of an overture pattern, and then it goes into a fugue part towards the end, and then it finishes quite energetically. So that's one. Let me see. Another one I have. I've got one that I just finished. I'm talking about these pieces I just finished, but I hope they're okay.
Yeah, that's it.
Well, I hope they're as good as I'm thinking they are. We'll see. In fact, when I wrote it for a group that's not too far from you over in Edina, Minnesota, the Minnesota Junior Winds. And
sure.
And it's a grade 3.5 piece, right. And I call it To Catch Fire. It's a 3-movement piece, and the community of Edina, when it first got, when it was first settled in the 1860s, it's a very, it's got very deep Irish roots. So those 3 movements are in that vein. So I'm excited about that one. So it's got a lively first movement, the second movement slow and fast and slow again, and then the third movement is very much in the jig. It's very much just Irish jig. So that's one. Let's see. I've got another 3-movement piece that I call Tudor Sketches. Which is English-based, basically music from 15th century England, and that's very much in the vein of the music that was written back in those days, back in the 16th century.
Okay.
And so those are some I like to work with high school bands.
Yeah, we'll make sure to link all of the pieces that we're talking about in and around the video, wherever it makes sense, depending on where this gets posted, and hopefully it helps people. Now, I also wanted to chat about, because you're so experienced with directing and music education and being in the trenches with teaching. Could you give kind of a nugget of advice to the beginning director, kind of the middle career director, and maybe director towards the end of their career? Because we're going to have a mix of people listening to this, and from chatting about your teaching experience. You have so much to depart. There's, I'm sure that there's a lot you could talk on each of those, but if you had just a couple nuggets of advice for teachers at each of those stages in career, what might you tell them, or what do you find yourself talking to teachers about?
Well, for the younger teachers, the first thing I would tell them is, if you can, because so many younger teachers are in situations where they might be in a little town, which is like 30, 40 miles away from anything in any direction. And so you find yourself quite isolated. But even if you're in that situation, let me encourage you to, as much as you can, connect with someone that you respect in the profession, that is doing the kind of work you'd like to see yourself doing at some point. And whether it's pick up the phone call, and today resources are vast. I mean, look at what we're doing right now. We're Zooming.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Come on, man. We didn't have like email, texting. We didn't have this stuff 30 years ago. This still blows. I'm doing it and it still blows my mind. I can't believe this. So, so what you do is just reach out and just tap into those resources, for the younger teachers. And again, you don't have to, if you can do it live, if you can get with somebody and have a cup of coffee and sandwich over them, that's great. But, here again, we've got YouTube. You can literally just travel the world from your desktop. So again, the resources are vast. So take advantage of those resources. I would say for the older teacher, and I can say this because as I came to the end of my career, I found myself needing motivation more and more and more. So what I did was, pretty much the same thing. I would just, talk to folks who were excited about it, just, getting around people, who were just excited, and getting around people who were just proactive, not necessarily about music, but just about life in general. Because it's very easy to just get bogged down with all, the routine, mundane, run-of-the-mill things, that life brings your way. Again, I just talked to other people in the field and just made sure I was always around people, who were just positive and proactive, not necessarily maybe about music, but about life itself. And, and that's what kept me going toward the end of the career. Because, it's very easy, to lose track of what you're doing. I didn't want to be the guy that everybody was sitting around wishing would quit. So, so that's what I did. Yeah. I just kept working hard, just stayed with it. And because when I left, I wanted to leave gracefully, and I wanted to leave people with good memories. So that was my motivation toward the end.
Yeah, and that's really good advice as far as finding people that are, inspired about life and great attitude and everything. You're absolutely an example on that front. You inspire me, and every time we have had the chance to chat, I'm just so grateful for our friendship and the chances to be around you. It's you live that comment that you just made.
Well, right back at you, sir. It's always a pleasure to be with you, man. And again, I just love what you're doing and what you do for people. You're not just the run-of-the-mill music store merchant. I love how you engage yourself and how you interact with the directors, and they are just part of your ecosystem. You would not do business without them, even if you could, Josh. And for that, sir, you have my great respect and admiration.
Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate it. I can't say thank you enough for taking the time to join us today. Before we wrap up, is there anything else that you'd like to chat about with anybody that would be listening to this podcast? Is there any other pieces that you'd like to talk about? Is there anything else you'd like to touch on with your musical journey?
Okay, well, as far as my pieces, they're all available, and for those of you that are out there teaching, let me just say thank you all very much for the jobs you do from day to day. The work you do is very necessary. It is very significant, and please don't ever forget that, because it's it's very easy to let yourself get bogged down and let yourself get beat up by the negative forces that are out there against education, and sadly there are plenty. But I just want to thank you all that are listening for just having the wherewithal and just having the stick-to-itness that just keeps you moving every day. It's your dedication to the kids and your love of music that keeps you going. And for that, we appreciate you. And my message is, as tough as it is sometimes, and listen, I fought the fight for 30 years. I'm right there with you. Just hang in there and keep doing what we're doing, because we keep doing what you're doing, because we need you very badly.
Yeah, very well said. Very well said. And we will absolutely be, linking and connecting all the pieces that we talked about today, and any pieces that might come out before this podcast airs, anything that's maybe new, like you said, that just is getting published, and we'll make it as easy as possible for people to find your music, because it's a remarkable body of work. And I've got to say, when I was telling you, you came to the clinic last fall, or 2 falls ago now, and when I was telling people, oh yeah, I'm going to be, having a conversation with William Owens, and everybody just kept saying, oh my gosh, he was so nice, or I love his music. I mean, literally, not only well known, but everybody just lights up with a smile when they hear your name.
Wow,
so again, thank you.
Very grateful to them all.
Yeah. Well, you have a wonderful rest of the week. Thanks again for joining me on this podcast, and I'll look forward to the next time that we get to chat and hang out.
Oh, you bet, man. This was great fun. Thanks again for having me, Josh. This was great.
Thanks for tuning into the Popplers Music Podcast. We hope today's conversation sparked new ideas and reminded you why your work matters. If you enjoyed the episode, don't forget to subscribe. Share it with a fellow educator or musician, and leave us a review. It helps more music lovers find us. For more resources, sheet music, instruments, and support for your program, visit us at popplersmusic.com. Until next time.